Well, Hannah, it's been a hell of a year.
It's been quite the ride.
And you got a friend in me.
And to infinity and beyond.
We're celebrating a milestone this episode. We're not having like a traditional intro because this is special. We have reached a year. Been doing this for a year, which is crazy to me. Can't believe we made it. You can't see from the podcast, but we are wearing these tiny little Woody hats that we found. These tiny little cowboy hats. They're like meant for pets. We found them at Meijer. We're like, well, we have to get them. And we've got a nice, lovely bottle of Prosecco that we're going to open and celebrate, and some party poppers. Because you know what? This is a celebration.
I love how we're celebrating more for this than we did for New Year's last night.
Yeah, well, New Year's does not bring me any joy to go from one year to the other knowing that we're in the middle of a pandemic still and the Omicron's getting even worse. You know, everyone's having a fun time. So we gotta bring you some joy.
Yeah. This is gonna be fun.
So we're gonna try to do these party poppers.
Hopefully it doesn't wake our parents up.
Now, do we have to take this part off? Or do we pull this?
No, I think you just pull it.
Okay.
I really hope it doesn't go all over the room.
Okay. Well, we'll find out. Okay, see, mine came off, so.
Oh, jeez. That was kind of loud. God. That was kind of loud.
Woo! Okay.
Okay, that's it. We're just going to do one.
Hooray!
Oh, it smells like...
It smells like smoke in here. Well, we got our two party... Oh, they're smoldering. Look at...
That's safe.
I got some...
That's what you get when...
Some incense.
It really does smell like...
I got some incense.
That's what happens when you set off $1 party poppers.
Yeah, I guess.
Knocked my hat off. I think we should open this.
I think so.
I think I'm going to let you open it.
That's fair.
Classically horrified of opening bottles of champagne.
So, Hannah, why don't you talk about... Well, what do we want to talk about in this intro?
I was just thinking... Back to when I sent you that message on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew you most likely wouldn't see it until the morning. And I said that in the message.
You did say that, yes.
But yeah, I was just thinking back to that. That was way more than a year ago. Because it was like a year and a half ago.
That was probably in May of 2020.
It seems like it's been no time at all. But it also seems like it's been like 10 years.
Like an eternity, yes.
But yeah, it's been a fun ride. I, again, am surprised we made it as long as we did. And that we're actually building momentum is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, that we already have, like, plans. We already have quite a bit of stuff planned out for the next year and some guests and things we're excited about. Yeah, it's interesting to me that I feel like we've only had, like, one or two instances where we weren't really feeling an episode.
Yeah. For
the most part, we're very engaged, and even if it's not necessarily, like, a huge investment of time, like, we care about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we care too much.
We do care too much.
So, let's open the champagne.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe don't shoot it at something. Do you want to try one of those grippy things?
Right, you try.
I don't like it.
You have a towel on it. You'll be fine. Just...
There we go.
Hooray.
Alright. So, not really cheers to 2022.
No.
But let's cheers to next year of a podcast and this last year.
Yes.
And to the listeners.
To the listeners, everyone who's supported us and listened to us, whether you actually know us or not, we really appreciate it. And cheers to year 2.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't make the sound I wanted.
Let's do. Hold on.
Sure.
Okay, no.
Sure. Whatever. Welcome. This is Research Rank Repeat. I'm one of your co-hosts, Alyssa.
This is co-host Hannah.
And we're both wearing little tiny cowboy hats drinking Prosecco, not champagne. Let me tell you the difference that I learned somewhat recently. So essentially, sparkling wine and champagne are the same thing. They're both from grapes. The difference is that you can only call champagne champagne if the grapes were grown in Champagne, France. If they weren't born... if the grapes weren't grown in Champagne, then they have to call, oh my god, I have had 2 sips of Prosecco. If the grapes were not grown in Champagne, you have to call it sparkling wine. It's just like a thing. But they're essentially the same thing. It's just the region is very important. So we have some, not Champagne, we've got some Prosecco, Italian sparkling wine from White Plains, New York.
Yes. And we are cheersing, celebrating our 1-year anniversary.
So this is just going to be a fun episode. We're going to talk about things that we've done in this year. We're going to talk about episodes, and then we're also going to be ranking our top 10 favorite episodes. It
felt a little bit weird because neither one of us is very, likes to, have a spotlight on stuff we've done. At least I'm not.
No, if you know me and follow my social media, I post, 3 times a year, and that's it.
So it felt a little bit weird to be ranking our own episodes, but I also think the fact that we're doing a podcast all about ranking, it would be wrong not to rank.
That's what I said. Yep. Yeah. It would be wrong not to rank.
Because we made it a year, so we thought, let's rank our top 10 favorite episodes. It's a little bit weird because it's I was telling Alyssa earlier, it's hard because some of these episodes I think turned out really well, but they were such a pain to make, or they were really painful, to, do all the work in it. So it's kind of hard to make a top 10 list because I'm trying to think of the process, but also the finished product.
Because I have to think about things like, how well did the episode do? Because we have access to how many listens an episode's had. I have to think about how much did I enjoy it? Did I enjoy it? How difficult was it to edit? Because that comes, that's a big part of it as well for my enjoyment and, how much time I spent with the episode and how much I liked the idea. So that made it really hard to rank things. I had one episode I had in my top 10 and then I took out.
Yeah, I just realized I made a mistake, so...
That's okay.
You can keep talking.
I had another episode I might switch on the fly. I might make it an honorable mention instead of my top 10, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it's safe to say, throughout this process, we have learned a lot. We had to design our own logo.
Yes.
We had to come up with a name. We have to edit our own episodes. We have to name our episodes, come up with description, social media.
Yep.
You have to think of a lot of things. And also, we're just doing this for fun. This is just a hobby. There's a lot of things that, especially with editing, editing became so much easier once I learned some, tricks and things to help with the process. And, we're still learning. I think we're still learning things. We've got new toys. We've bought ourselves some filters for our microphones, so we have new headphones for the podcasting process. So.
Yeah, kind of going off of that because I'm curious, when you think back to a year ago when we first started, what's been the biggest surprise thing? Whether it's negative, positive, just what you'd maybe something you didn't expect.
Honestly, for me, it's the creativity because sometimes I'll just, same with both of us, we'll just come up with an episode on the fly, and I just, will text you and be like, we should do this. Or you'll text me and be like, we should do this. And it's not something that we had planned. Because we initially started with, a really long list of things that we want to do, and we haven't even tackled, even the fourth
majority of them.
Yeah, most of that stuff we haven't done. We knew we wanted to do Pixar. That's what we started with, and that took a long time. And throughout that process, we also brainstormed other ideas, movies, TV shows, things like that. But I think that's what surprised me the most is, just the things we've come up with. We've just, come up with, creative things, and I think that's really important that we're able to do that.
Yeah.
Because it means that we can explore a lot of creative outlets. Because I feel like I'm not a super artsy person in the sense of painting, drawing. My creativity, I feel is more abstract.
Yeah.
I think yours as well, I would say. So this has been a really good way, I feel to feel I can stretch myself, test my boundaries, I guess, and I don't know what the right word is.
Well, I think, too, also just coming up with episode titles, coming up with episode descriptions. I had a listener tell me that they really enjoy our episode descriptions and our titles. And that's, cool to see that other people appreciate that because some of those we do put a lot of, thought into. And sometimes we're just we'll just make this the title.
Yeah, sometimes we'll consult each other. Sometimes we just do it, or, one of us will do it.
Kind of going off, I guess my favorite thing that's come out of this is, I guess how comfortable I've started to feel. Yeah. And, how how enjoyable it is, because sometimes, like, we'll be having really shitty weeks, or at least I will, and I'm like, oh, well, this will be a fun, like, 1 to 2 hours of my night where I could do something fun. And, like, I had, I guess, coworker friend, and they've been listening to the podcast, and they were like, you know, I'm, like, really surprised how much different and how much more comfortable and, like, confident you seem on a podcast. And I was like, because I'm in a setting, I feel comfortable. I'm talking with someone I've known my whole life. Like, I'm very much different. Obviously, I don't talk here how I talk at work. Like, I wouldn't say half the stuff I say here.
Do you think some people I work with know about my podcast? I don't know if they've listened, but I'm like, this is not something I publicize at work because, like, again, our podcast is explicit. So
so I guess I've enjoyed that. Like, I guess feeling more confident, and, like, I've never been totally comfortable just, like, with my, like, speaking, because I had, like, speech impediment issues as a kid, and, like, had trouble pronouncing things. So the idea of, like, doing that was kind of daunting. But I think it's, like, cool how comfortable, like, going back to Pixar, I remember, like, I listened back to Pixar just, you know, to see, and, like, how nervous we sounded, how much we, like, stumbled over words. I mean, we still do that, but, like, and how much we just rambled because we were nervous.
Yeah. Our first edit of Pixar, like, our raw file, it took us over 3 hours to record, like, 10 movies, and introducing our podcast and the background. The background itself, like, we went on for, like, almost an hour.
We did.
It was endless.
I remember sitting upstairs in Mom and Dad's room, because we didn't know where to record, because, again, we didn't know anything about recording. We thought, we tried to sit in their closet.
Yeah, because I listened to the Scrubs podcast, and Donald Faison recorded in his closet because it's sound absorbing. Right. So I was like, well, we need to do somewhere that can absorb sound, since we have this, like, shitty, like, $30 microphone that we started with.
We literally just had a microphone sitting between the two of us, and, like, we sat with our backs against the wall and didn't even face each other, and just talked into a microphone.
We didn't even look at each other.
And so it's crazy to see, like, how much more, like, even, like, equipment-wise, like, just how much more we've gotten into it. And, it's just been a fun ride. Yeah. Yeah, it's become, like, this fun outlet for me, at least. Like, in the beginning, I think we just used it because we had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And now it's become, like, a nice, like, stress-relieving outlet, because we're both working and stressed with life and all that. So it's just been fun.
Yeah, and I think we also learned we shouldn't force something that's not going to work. Because we had a week where I had gone on vacation the weekend before, and we had a few days, and I was moving, and then me and Hannah went on vacation, and during that time, we wanted to record this, like, James Bond episode, songs, and it just, like, was not coming together. Like, I was not feeling it, Hannah wasn't feeling it. I remember when we were recording, we just, like, were both not feeling it.
And, like, when we edited it, I was like, this is
I fell asleep editing it.
Like, I almost wish at that point we wouldn't have put it out. I think now we've learned that, like...
We learned for the next time, we just took a gap week. We just took a break.
Because I would much rather skip a week than put something out that I'm not, like, proud of.
Our cousin Tara, who was on this podcast and listens to our podcast pretty regularly, she told us, she was like, hey, just wanted to let you guys know that I don't think this was your strongest episode.
She just said that, like, it wasn't her favorite. Yeah. And I was like, totally fair, and I think we had, like, a good conversation where we're like, we weren't feeling it, we shouldn't have released it, like...
We both were on the same page, and I was like, and that clearly reflects with someone who has listened to a majority of our episodes. If they're saying that, then, like, it's clear not just to us, but to the audience as well.
That has a lot of views.
I'm pissed because... I'm going to talk about one specific episode that I think is really underrated. That I think deserves a lot more listens. But that one has is pretty mid-tier for ours. Right. And I'm like, why can't that be the one that has the least amount of views, right?
Yeah. And it's, like, really interesting with ours because we're not, like, a podcast that draws a consistent fan base because... Right. Like, normally when you have a podcast where it's, like, true crime or if it's, like, following a specific TV show, you have a built-in fan base. With ours, it's very much every week could be something completely different.
Right.
So that means that some episodes get way more views or way more listens than others.
Exactly.
And it is interesting to see kind of what hits and what doesn't.
Yeah. What is something you wish we would have known when we started it?
I think, one, knowing how much time.
Yeah.
I had an idea in my head, and it was, like, way far off. I think another thing, just, like... I've never been bothered by the numbers, and... Because we never did this for any reason but we wanted to do this.
Right.
And I've always said, like, if one person likes the podcast, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I think just, like, I don't know. That's a good question. That's, like, a hard question to answer.
I can like answer this.
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm still thinking.
More. So for me, organization. I'm good at specific parts of organization. Like when I go on a trip, I can have every document I need in a folder in my backpack ready to go. Gone on trips with anyone. Usually I'm the person who's in charge of making sure we have everything organized, where we're going, where we're going to be, like transportation, all that stuff. But with this, like I think that would have been good to know is how to better organize it. Like, we started with a system that kind of worked, but I feel like we made it work better. We had, like, a schedule, like a calendar, and that didn't necessarily work, I don't think. And we kind of shifted to where it's more like we know what we want to do for a week, and if we want to, like, shift a week or two, we can shift. But that way we just have, like, a schedule of, okay, I have this many weeks until this.
I agree. Like, the organization, I think we've already sat down and figured out, like, almost 3 months worth.
Yeah.
Just because I do better when I know when something needs to be done by.
Right. And especially for, like, our long-form ones. Like, we are planning another Pixar-level movie ranking.
Right.
We won't tell you what it is. No spoilers. But we sat down and we were like, what month do we think this would be good to do in? To have these episodes come out, because ideally it's going to be roughly 4 to 5 episodes, because that's what Pixar was.
Right.
And, you know, how do we plan that out in advance, knowing what we know from Pixar and knowing that we know how to edit a lot better and we know how to organize it a lot better, and multiple recording sessions. That's the other thing. A lot of these multi-part ones, you know, like Twilight, like Fast and the Furious, we do in one sitting. And we just make it 2 episodes. But Pixar, we recorded 4 times?
Probably more, because at one point we just recorded like 2 or 3 episodes, or 2 or 3 movies.
You're right.
We had like a bunch of mini.
We had 4 recordings for the movies, and then we had a separate recording for the ranking. That's right. So, like, we know we're going to have to do it in chunks, otherwise you can't remember a lot of the specifics.
Yeah.
So, being able to organize that in advance is really important.
Yeah.
And very helpful.
Probably, yeah. I mean, honestly, thinking about, like, other things I wish I would have known, like, I don't know that I wish I would have known more, because I feel like a lot of things have surprised me in a good way.
Yeah.
It's just been, like, nice.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely say, like, the organization and the time is, like, the biggest thing.
I think so, too.
But yeah.
Great.
So I had pulled a bunch of Excel files from our host site. You can just export data. And I had pulled all of those, and Alyssa so generously went through a little neurotically, may I add.
No, I had so much fun.
Yeah, I know she did. She nerded out a little bit.
I did.
Made some Excel. She showed me her color-coded Excel sheets.
I did a lot of Excel. I got to use a bunch of my Excel codes from my physics labs, like things I learned in college, and I'm like, I haven't used these in a while. And it was fun.
Yeah, we're both, like, pretty, like, nerdy into, like, analytical data. So we just thought it'd be fun to share some of our, like, numbers and percentages from this last year, just kind of, like, reach and everything like that, just because, you know, this is something we both enjoy.
Yeah. So just as a first stat, we released over 50 episodes. And we also, we had over 1,000 listens.
Yes.
Which is very exciting for us, because again, we don't care about numbers in the slightest. Like, if one person listens to it, if our cousin Tara listened to the episode and that was it, we'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah. I think, like, for some people, they'd be like, oh, 1,000's not many. But, like, for us, like, I was not expecting to be anywhere near that amount.
I mean, considering we don't have, like, advertisement.
No.
The only people who know about it, for the most part, are people who we know.
Yes.
And, like, clearly, I'm not expecting everyone I know to listen to this podcast.
And the fact that, like, how many different states and countries we've got, I think, is, like, the coolest thing for me.
Yeah, so, stats. We'll start with the states. So, we had listens in 34 of 50 states. That is 68% of the United States.
Still waiting for that middle of America.
If you live in the middle of the United States, or you know someone who does, please contact them, because that's where the biggest portion. And, of course, Alaska and Hawaii, we need them too. And Puerto Rico, you know?
Yes. We do have Kansas.
We got Kansas. We got them. 10% of our U.S. listens are from an unidentifiable source, which usually means they're using a VPN, or, like, they just couldn't track to where the location was more specifically. So it's possible we've had listens in states, but it's just, like, not registering. So the top 5 states with listens, which account for 70% of our listens, come from 5 states. It's Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Oregon, and California, which, considering we know people in all of these states, that doesn't surprise me.
No, it does not.
So we have had listens in 36 countries. We've had more listens in countries than we've had in states. So that is 18.5% of all the countries of the world, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That's almost 1/5 of the world.
1/5 of the world we've claimed.
So for that, 2.97% of those listens come from an unidentifiable location. I got there. We've also claimed 6 out of 7 continents. You can't, look at records for Antarctica. They're, not on the map. Okay. So we, on the hosting site we have, they'll show you, a map of the United States, and it will, highlight countries, or specifically you can go look at the U.S., states. It'll highlight where listens are from. Antarctica's not on the map. So I guess we've claimed all of the continents, which is exciting. So the top 5 countries that we have listens from, and these 5 countries account for 88% of our listens. So the first is the United States, then Brazil, Mexico, United Kingdom, and then Germany, rounding out our top 5. I also got the top country from every continent, since we have claimed 6 continents. Now, of course, Australia is going to be Australia, because that is the continent.
Yes.
North America is the United States, Europe is the United Kingdom, and South America is Brazil. So Asia is interesting. So Russia is technically, the land of Russia is by landmass considered Asia, but the actual country itself is culturally and politically aligned with Europe. So by landmass, Russia is the top country, but after that, or considering that a European country, it would then be Indonesia. And from Africa, our top country is South Africa. So now we're going to go look at our episodes. So we have our top 5 most downloaded episodes, and these account for only 37.9% of our listens. So not even half of our listens come from our top 5 episodes. I'm going to go in opposite order for this one to kind of build suspense, Number 5, we have our Mamma Mia Dancing Queens Unite episode. That's 2.8%. We have number 4 is Pixar Part 1, Bros Before Bows, 3.6%. Number 3 is Pixar Part 3, Mater Boating, 4.2. Now, this one is interesting because when we launched our podcast, this was our newest episode out.
Yes.
So I have a feeling that because of that, that is why this is so high on the list.
Because that was the first one people would have clicked on.
Because that's the first one people would have clicked on.
Yes.
Number 2, we have TV Pilots, ABC Family, with 7.9%. And then our big winner, number 1, Lady Gaga, Hannah's Bad Romance, 19.4%. I'm surprised this has finally dropped below 20, because for a long time it was a fourth of our listens were Lady Gaga.
Yeah, it was.
And this is, majority of our international listens are Lady Gaga or the TV Pilots.
A lot of Brazil.
They
love Lady Gaga.
Mexico and Brazil love Lady Gaga.
Which we do too, so.
We're right there with you.
Cheers.
Now, I also accounted and looked at our most popular months. So our 5th most popular month is July, with 9.4%. Number 4 is November, 9.7%. Number 3 is August, 9.9%. Number 2 is December of 2021, because technically our first episode came out in December of 2020, but who's really counting? That's 10%. And number 1 is September, with 13.1%.
I mean, that would show to me that it has built towards the end of the year, because majority of the end of the year months are on our list minus October.
Yes. October, I think, was close. I think it was the next one behind July. So the other thing that's interesting is that gives you these stats on the listening source of where people are listening to the podcast. So the top 5 listening sources account for 78.61% of our total listens. So number 5 is Google Chrome, about 7%. Number 4 is Amazon Music Podcast, which I didn't know Amazon Music had a podcast thing.
You know what's funny is I added us to Amazon Music a while after the podcast came out.
Yeah, so apparently people use that. That's about 9%. Number 3 is Apple Podcasts, 10.5%. Number 2 is the Android player, which is 11.5%. And then number 1 is Spotify, 40.52%, which that doesn't surprise me.
No.
So we technically have a total of 53 episodes released. Now, one of these is a bonus episode, which I don't know if that counts as an episode because that was just extras from our British TV pilots episode. So technically we have 52 full-length episodes. For the purpose of our statistics, those were downloaded before our newest episode came out, which was our Christmas movies. So for the stats, we only had 51. Total time of the content that we have released 3,188 minutes of content, which equals 53 hours and 8 minutes. So we recorded over 2 days of content, and that's just what we released. I roughly estimated that we've probably in total recorded like maybe 55 hours of content.
Probably more than that.
55 to 60 is what I was thinking, something like that. And then some random episode facts. So we've had 4 episodes with guests in 2021. I also broke down our podcast episodes into categories. So we've had 7 episodes about music. We've had 10 episodes about television shows, 16 about movies, 7 about taste testing, and 12 were in a miscellaneous category that they didn't really fit in any of those. So we've had 5 multi-part series, so like 5 groupings with more than one part. 14 episodes were of a multi-part series, and then the last one is that we had 2 mini episodes, which were for Pixar for the new movies coming out that weren't like a full-length episode.
Just a bonus.
Yes.
Little extra.
Yeah, and those are the stats I have.
All right. Good talk.
Good talk.
So we are going to get in, we each picked our 10 favorite episodes. Alyssa does have an honorable mention.
I have technically two honorable mentions.
I think you're starting.
I'm starting? Okay, I'll do my honorable mention. So specifically, I want to put an honorable mention to our Pixar episodes, specifically Pixar Part 3, which was called Mater Boating. That was the one I feel like we really kind of found our footing with the podcast, like with podcast recording. Specifically, Hannah calling Mater, breast friend?
His breast friend.
His breast friend. That was in that one. And the reason I didn't feel like I could include Pixar in our list is because it was so difficult. Like, I am very proud of what we did, but considering where we've come and where we're at, I don't think it reflects as strongly on, like, how we are now. In terms of, like you said, our confidence, our ability to edit, the amount of time it took. I'm very proud of that. And I think when we go into this next one, we have learned a lot from this specific doing this. So that's why I wanted to make it an honorable mention. I don't think it's one of our best episodes, but I really feel strongly about it. It's close to my heart.
Yeah. Okay.
So number 10, I think this is our most slept on episode. Like our what's the
underrated.
Our most underrated episode, Winnie the Pooh and Depression 2, number 10. I love this episode. This was one of my favorites when we recorded it. We had so much fun with this episode, and this is one of our least listened to episodes. So if you're listening to this and you haven't heard our Winnie the Pooh episode, please go listen to it. We talked about mental illness. We talked about a ton of things. I play the piano. I played a one-handed piano because my finger had stitches in it, so I couldn't do 2 hands. I learned it in 30 minutes. I feel very strongly, and I was pissed off. This is the only episode I've ever been upset that didn't get more views, because it's like, please, it's Winnie the Pooh. Everybody loves it. So, there we go. I got a little heated. I'm sorry. Number 10, Winnie the Pooh and Depression 2.
All right, number 10, I got Fast and Furious.
Okay.
I just did part 1 and 2 as a combined because it was 2 parts, but technically 1 episode.
Fair.
I'm going to start by saying this is one of the most exhausting preps because of poor time management on both our parts.
We watched 3 movies in one day.
Yeah.
It was bad.
But I will say, because this was the first time we got to go to the movie theater since COVID had started.
Yes.
We got to go see Fast and Furious 9 in theaters, which was really fun. We had a great time. We brought our notebooks.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I think we had a lot of fun discussing a franchise that we really knew nothing about. Because, like, Pixar we know a lot about already. And with Fast and Furious, I had really only seen bits and pieces of the movies. It was a lot of fun. We know nothing about cars, but that didn't stop us from having a great time. And you know what's so important, Alyssa? Family.
Family is the most important thing, Hannah.
Yes.
We know that. Number 9, I have 2 episodes, and I keep going back and forth between them. And I can't decide which one to pick. I'm gonna make a game time decision. I'm cutting one of the episodes and I'm putting the other one in. Number 9 is our variety hour back from hiatus. This one, it will not appeal to people who don't know us, but this was one of the funnest episodes to record. We just were like, let's just do a variety hour. Let's do random things, see what works, what doesn't. Some of the things did not work, but some of the things did. And thinking about episodes that I had a lot of fun making, this was one of them. For people who know us, I feel like it's enjoyable. And again, we're just making it for fun, so I don't necessarily need, it doesn't need to be the best episode. I just want to point out the episode that I cut for this. This is one of my favorite concepts. Album swap, all of you shut the fuck up. It's one of my favorite concepts, but I don't feel like it necessarily translates the best into podcast form. Because we can't play any music, because you have to go on the assumption that people have heard these artists before or are going to go listen to these artists, it's kind of hard to have people come in and, like, be listening to something they might not be familiar with. Personally, like, that's one of my favorite, like, creative things we did this year, but I just don't feel like it's maybe one of our strongest episodes, so I just had to cut that right there.
Yeah, I cut the album swap for that reason, because I think the music ones kind of come across a little bit harder on podcasts because we can't get copyrighted. Like, if you play music, you'll get copyrighted, and we, quite frankly, can't afford to be copyrighted.
No.
I would like to actually give an honorable mention to Variety Hour. Yeah. Because I'm with you. I think it was one of the most, like, fun things we did. But again, it's like, it wouldn't appeal to a wide audience of people, I don't think. Right. For the people, because I know people who know us said they liked it. Yeah. They had fun listening to it.
Multiple people said that they liked the episode.
Number 9, I'm going to agree with you on Winnie the Pooh. This was an episode that was born out of a last-minute beer conversation at an airport.
Yes! Oh my god, that's right! I forgot we came up with this decision at the airport.
We had to get to the airport early because we had to check out our hotel. We had, like, 6 hours to kill. So we went to a bar, restaurant, grabbed a beer, and we were trying to come up with an episode because we needed something to do. And Alyssa was like, what if we did Winnie the Pooh characters? And I remember thinking, this is going to be James Bond 2.0 because this is not going to turn out well. And I would agree. It's one of my favorite conversations we've ever had. I think the reason it's so unlistened to is because a lot of people are just thinking, oh, they're just, like, sitting there ranking Winnie the Pooh characters. Yeah. But we got into, like, a really deep discussion. It's really surprisingly heartwarming. Yeah. Yeah. It ended up turning out a lot better than I thought it would. One of the biggest shocker episodes. And it is, like, it's, like, has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I know. That is, if there's one episode you need to listen to, that's the one I would recommend.
Because I used to recommend a different episode, which I haven't got to, but I think now I'm going to start recommending Winnie the Pooh, because it was one of my favorite discussions we've had.
It was one of my favorite discussions, and I think I am upset about the minimal amount of listens it has.
I'm not upset about it. I
am upset.
Okay, you're upset.
Here's the thing. I know how many listens our top episode has, and I know how many that episode has. Here's what I'll say. It's not the least listened to episode, but it's very close to the bottom. Yeah. And that bothers me. Oh, bother, as Winnie the Pooh would say.
He's also a flasher. We discussed that.
We did. We did discuss that. Discussion. Okay, so number 8, I have American Idol Conspiracy Theory. Now, this one I had to rank as number 8 because it is way too long. We had to cut, like, 30 minutes of content. What I learned, though, is Hannah and I haven't watched American Idol in years. But we love American Idol, and we love conspiracy theories because we could not stop talking. We talked for like 3 hours.
It ended up being one of our biggest cut episodes. Yeah. We probably should have maybe released a bonus for that one.
Probably, but like we're so invested in this episode. We took it super seriously. And because of that, it's one of my favorites. Because I'm like, I forgot how much I loved American Idol and how invested I was in that show. And that surprised me. Yeah. That we were like, oh, it's probably going to be like an hour and a half. And then all of a sudden we were like, okay, it's over 2 hours and we're like on the 10th contestant. So we gotta pick up the pace. I feel like the format worked really well for that. And plus we got to air some of our like conspiracy theories, and that's always fun too.
Who knows? Maybe we'll do another one. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll actually do like the first place winners and not the second place winners.
Third place.
Shout out to my roommate for that recommendation of doing second place winners.
Yes. Yes. I think that was smart to do second place because you weren't expecting. You'd expect to do winners. Yeah. Okay. Number 8 is CSI Miami. This was one of the biggest prep work episodes for me because I decided to make a mega Google Doc of every single episode. It was also one of the most fun for me because I got to sit there and watch 200-something Horatio Caine one-liners. I think that it's, like, a really fun episode. I think that it's also, like, funny because we're just sitting there trying to imitate Horatio Caine and saying these one-liners. And, like, to people who have never seen CSI Miami, it makes no sense.
Like, I think we said in the podcast, like, this is just for us.
Yeah.
Like,
it was for us and for, like, 2 other people we know love CSI Miami.
Yeah.
And I just think it ended up being a really fun episode. We made, like, an Instagram video for it. It was, like, one of the first times we made an actual Instagram video of the sunglasses coming off. So I just think it's fun. Like, I don't know, I was listening to it earlier, like I was driving to work and I was listening to it and I was like, this is actually pretty funny, and like, I just, you know, I love CSI Miami.
Yeah, I almost put that on my list. It was one of the funnest ones, but you did do a lot of the work.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
true.
made that document for me.
I just, like, didn't even ask you. I was like, I'm just gonna go for it.
You just told me you made a document, and I'm like, great, I'm here for it. And we're happy with that. So, number 7, I have Jammers Gone Wild. So this is what I would consider our first unhinged episode. We went off the rails. We got drunk so fast. We had so much alcohol in such a short period of time, and, like, it was chaos. But it was so fun. We went off. It was a fun time, and it's, like, one of the first episodes that I feel like was, like, the start of us, like, just going off the rails at, like, 1 a.m. in the morning. And because of that, it's, like, it still holds, it's, like, one of my favorites. And it was the first taste test we did. Yep. Was the Jammers Gone Wild. And I feel like we learned a lot from that one of how to do it better. Also, not to drink so much in a short amount of time. And not to drink so much liquor in such a short period of time. But I, like, of the earlier episodes, it's one of my favorites. Yeah. Number 7, I did American Girl Dolls. Mm-hmm. I think it was just, like, a very nostalgic part of our childhood. And I think because of that, we felt very attached and we had very strong opinions on this. I think some of our better episodes are the ones where we're very much invested in the topic, but also we've been able to find a way to become invested in topics we're not necessarily that attached to. I did like doing the historical background on each character. I thought it was interesting to learn about some of the dolls we didn't, and I also loved our mutual hatred for Molly. Yes. Of course. Fuck Molly 2022. So, number 6, I have Fast and the Furious. And I agree. For a franchise that, frankly, we knew almost nothing about, and we do not give a shit about cars. Let me be clear. We grew up in Metro Detroit, which means that we were exposed to Henry Ford, and we had to go to every fucking Henry Ford thing and learn all about cars. Cars are, like, all you learn about in Michigan. If you grew up on the east side of the state, all you learn about is cars and the big 3 and and I could not give more of a shit about cars. I don't care. Like, I get a car because my brother works for one of the car companies. We get a discount. And I get a discount. That's why I pick the car brand that I have. But this was so fun. Yeah. Like, we had so much fun with this. I agree. I will tell you something, Hannah. I didn't tell you this. I watched one of these videos at work on my phone. Oh, yeah. I took notes on a scrap of paper. I was working on something that I did. Made it in a cave with a box of scraps. Seriously. The second movie, I had to watch at work because I was like, I don't have enough time. I, like, didn't have my notebook, so I'm just like, all right, I got a scrap of paper and just start writing notes down. I think I have it in my notebook. There it is. Oh. Here's the scrap of paper I took my notes on. See, look, I literally have it on a scrap of paper from work. Yes. Here's my notes. Yes. I keep it in here as a reminder that I can't do that again. It's to keep me in check. We had such poor time management. We watched 3 movies in one day and then immediately went to the movie theater. But it was so fun to do something out of our comfort zone. Like, I had seen, like, maybe 1 to 2 of those movies. You had seen, like, 1 to 2 of them. Mm-hmm. I knew nothing about the franchise. I had no investment in the franchise. And I felt like it was so fun just to, like, experience it. Like, I enjoyed going to see it in the theater. It was a fun time. I think it was one of the first times we actually stepped out of our comfort zone. Yeah. Because we had always done stuff that we, like, felt more comfortable with because we thought it'd be easier to talk about, but I think that proved to us that, like, we didn't necessarily need to do stuff we thought we were invested in because I wouldn't say I was invested in Fast and Furious up until that point. No. And now we have to be invested. And now we have to go watch every movie that comes out because we've committed. Agree. I was really proud and happy with the way that went. Mm-hmm. And we were also unhinged. That was a mess. Yeah. That was a mess of a recording. We had a crazy... My roommate's cat in the house was going insane, and we had to go to the movie theater, and we had to watch another movie after our recording. And there was a tornado warning that day. It was a mess. But it was fun. I had a great time with it. And I learned a lot about time management for movies.
Yes.
Specifically.
That's why we scrapped one of the ideas we're supposed to do. We won't mention which one.
So we had a movie franchise, but we had one we were going to do last year. And we could just never get it to work.
And we both text each other and we're like, I've only watched one movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to happen right now.
I have the space in my notebook. Like, I set aside space for all these movies, and I just have one movie filled, and we just, like, never got around to it. So we were just like, you know what? Let's scrap it. We'll come back to it later.
Yes. All right. Number 6 is TV Pilots ABC Family. Mm-hmm. So this is the beginning of what would become one of my favorite category of episodes to do, which is TV pilots. It's also the first time we decided to write our own summaries.
I think I suggested we should do that.
Yeah, Alyssa suggested it. It's become one of my favorite things to do.
It's one of my favorite things.
Again, another creative thing to write these summaries. Mm-hmm. Basically, we did it because we didn't want to have to worry about being like copyrighted.
Yeah, because during Pixar, we got all of our summaries from Disney Plus, and we had to I
had to cut in a thing of me saying all these descriptions are from Disney
Plus because we wanted to be like, just to make sure, like, we didn't write this, it's technically copyright. Well, we should just write our own.
Right. Yeah. I think it's fun. I think it was funny. I think it was a good discussion. It was really fun to watch all the pilot shows. And Alyssa's Kyle XY description still to this day kills me. Goo Boy, God, I just love it. It's one of my favorites. This actually is, like Alyssa said, it's our second most listened to episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed doing the TV pilots.
So number 5, Hannah and I discussed this beforehand, but I have all of our guest episodes. Mm-hmm. I could not particularly rank all of them. Like, I don't know, I can't do that. So I really enjoyed having guests on. It adds a different dynamic, because Hannah and I are very similar. We have a lot of the same feels about things, and clearly some of our rankings are very, very similar depending on the topic. So it was nice to get in different people that we know and, like, are comfortable with, so, like, the discussion still flows well, but then, like, can offer and alter in a different perspective. And I enjoyed all of them. The one thing, though, we have learned, when you add a third person, that makes the time go up dramatically because you have a full third perspective to consider. So we have definitely been able to understand better how to, like, the amount of things we can do with that. Like, how many pilots could we do? How many movies can we do with 3 people? I don't know. It's a different challenge. And I've enjoyed having all the guests on, and I'm glad we were able to have guests, because that was something we thought about early on, and then I'm glad we were able to make that work so many times this year.
Yeah. And we did 2 in person, 2, like, virtual.
Yeah, we were able to make different formats work.
Yeah.
Being through Zoom or actually in person,
yep.
So.
Yep. Number 5, I got Jammers Gone Wild.
Okay.
It was one of the most fun recordings we've ever done. I think it was the first time we ever drank alcohol on the podcast, and we quickly realized, like, it does not go well if you drink a lot in a short amount of time. I also think it's amazing how quickly we pulled it together for the rankings.
Oh my God, we pulled it together so well.
I think it showed me that we can be professional, because we were a mess, and then all of a sudden we were like, rankings, and we were fine, and then at the end of the rankings it goes back to shit.
Yeah, we pulled it together.
But professionals. Yeah. I just think it was a lot of fun. It's still one of my favorites. Like, I still tell people if they're looking for an episode that's, like, just fun. I remember saying, do you ever think Tito's should be Tito's? And we're still looking for that
sponsor.
Tito's.
We still want that Tito's sponsor.
That was the first time I think we ever shouted out a sponsorship.
Yeah, we
wouldn't
really
be the last time.
No,
also Delta.
Also Delta, please. We'd love it.
Yes.
Maybe not right now,
but
later.
Tito's.
But Tito's right now.
We would love that.
We need that alcohol, all we can get. So, number 4, I have Cider Hard Piss Watch 2021. Now, this is an interesting one. This is, I think, our funniest episode. Hannah has a line. Hannah says, clowns, hoes, piss. That's pure Michigan. And that's still, I think, the funniest opening we've ever had. There's 2 openings I think are the funniest, but that is, like, the most I've laughed editing an episode and most I've laughed making an episode. I just think it is, like, our best taste testing episode. Even more so than Jammers Gone Wild. I personally really love this episode. I think it's a really great example of, like, comedic abilities, because we're not that funny, but, like, I laughed a lot in that episode. So, it's a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, that was another, like, whim episode, too. We just needed something, and we're like, we'll do cider. I didn't put that one in my top 10 because I kind of forgot about that line. I didn't listen to the episode, so I forgot how much, now I'm remembering.
Because the intro, you literally start the intro with, so I pissed my pants on my 16th birthday. Yeah. That's how it starts.
That was the Haunted Maze story.
That's the Haunted Maze story. And it's, I don't know, I just, I love that episode. It's
it is a good episode.
Yeah.
Number 4, I had to do Lady Gaga. I think I had to give credit to our most listened to episode. I think out of all the music ones we've done, this one worked the best because I think a lot of people know Lady Gaga's music. I think it was, fun and funny. I think we just, we both love Lady Gaga, so we were passionate about it. I do think the reason that it has so many listens is not because it's necessarily our greatest episode, but because it's Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
And people probably...
are looking for Lady Gaga.
That tweet...
Yeah.
That tweet, because people who don't use Twitter, when you post a tweet, you can see how many people have viewed it. That one by far is the most viewed, and it's a picture of me and Alyssa playing Tap Tap Revenge. And I think that's probably why, because there's so many views of that on Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think I had to include it. It's not necessarily my favorite episode. Like I said, the music formats just don't really work that well. But I do think it's a good episode. I think we had some good conversation.
So controversially, I didn't include Lady Gaga. Yeah. I know it's our most listened to episode, and it's because it's Lady Gaga. And I fully support that. And I understand why it's our most listened to episode. But I love doing the music episodes. It's hard, though, because it'd be a lot easier if we could just play music. And we can't.
We have a better time recording those than they end up turning out. Just because when we're doing them, we're having fun listening to music, but then it's weird because then you have to cut all the music and it's just us being and number, you know what I mean?
Right. So that's why I didn't include it on the list, but I can recognize, it was a fun episode.
All right. No, it's your turn.
Okay, so number 3, I have American Girl Dolls, Fuck Molly. I loved this episode. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that we were able to make this as fun as it was. This is the episode I think the most people have talked to us about that we know. Have been I'm so excited to listen to this, or I love this, or Molly's the worst. Kit, you better have Kit the best. We had the most interactions on our social media post. And I think this works because it's something that we were really passionate about when we were kids. And we're very passionate about our hatred of Molly. Again, fuck Molly 2022.
Fuck Molly 2022.
And so, but we also were able to recognize, there's some issues with this brand. Being able to access it cost-wise. You make dolls for, of different, races, of different, backgrounds. But it's but can people access those if you make the dolls, $100, dollars?
Also not giving a lot of the minority characters movies. Their own movies.
Making the first black character a slave.
Also having a American Girl doll whose parents were probably slave owners.
Yes. I like that we were able to address the controversies and the historical background of these characters and also just rank them. And it was a really fun time because we were able to look at things in a perspective, especially just from our perspective, being that we're both white, grew up relatively well off, in our childhood, and that we were able to have 8 American Girl dolls, Yeah. Thanks to our family relative who had an in with Mattel.
Because I wanted to do this because we have the hats on.
Yes.
Shooter McGavin. Shooter McGavin. Because we have the hats. Okay.
Yes. Shooter McGavin.
Yes.
There's a snake in my boot.
All right.
But yes, I really enjoyed that episode, and I think it's a really strong episode.
Yes. Number 3, I have the guest episodes. Like I said, I can't pick one above the other because I think they're all strong. What I do like about them, like you said, we get different perspectives. I also think each guest brought something and contributed to the podcast in a way that was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Whether it was writing summaries, whether it was getting background, whether it was just a lot of our lists end up being pretty similar. We have had some that are completely different.
Sure. Yeah.
But we grew up together, so obviously we're gonna have similar things. And it's also just nice to have conversations with people we like and people we enjoy. And, and to be able to do it in a setting like that is cool. But yeah, I've had a really fun time doing guests. I'm looking forward to doing guests next.
Me too.
Not really season because we don't do seasons, but next year.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just been a fun time.
So number 2, I have TV Pilots ABC Family. So this of the most listened to episodes I think is my favorite. So this is our second most listened to episode. this is really where I think.
Sorry.
Are you kidding me?
Pipe.
This is really where I think we found like a good groove. Because this was like our first TV episode. Actually, you know what? We recorded Cora second.
But this was
But this was like our first one where we're just doing pilots, and it's a fun format because you get to get exposed to a lot of different things, and writing your own summaries. That was like a game changer. Like that added a new element that was really fun. And I really enjoyed getting to write, like, finding background, writing summaries. I think it's a really strong early episode of ours. It's one of my favorites.
I'm drunk.
Yeah, clearly, Hannah. Clearly. We finished a bottle of champagne.
We drank a whole bottle of champagne.
It's one of my favorite episodes, and I am glad it's one of our most popular, because I think it deserves it.
Yes.
It's weird to me, though, that this episode is so much higher than ABC Family Pilots Part 2.
I'm trying to, because I was trying to remember, what shows we had done, because maybe it's the shows we had done, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's very popular.
Part 1 is, very popular.
It's obviously those PLL fans.
It must be.
Or Secret Life of the American Teenager, or Kyle XY.
Oh,
it's the Kyle XY fanatics.
Kyle XY fans. It's those Kyle XY fans.
Those goo boy fanatics.
Those goo boys.
Number 2 is, I'm going to disagree with you. I put Pixar, technically Part 1, which is our pilot, our first episode, but technically the whole collective.
That's fine.
It's very nostalgic, and I think it's interesting to see how far we have come.
Yeah.
I also think that we can hear, you can hear the nerves, but I also think that it's a really good discussion. Mm-hmm. We were obviously very invested in Pixar, which is why we picked it first, and I think going back, it was a good idea to have that be our first episodes.
I think so.
Because it was something we were comfortable with. I know, multiple people have told me that, they've really enjoyed our Pixar discussions. Mm-hmm. Someone told us they cried listening to our discussion about Up.
Yeah.
And, I just think I went back and listened to them, and I was I was very much cringing because I was this is so uncomfortable. But I also think, some of our best conversations we've had on this podcast came from Pixar. Our Coco discussion,
Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out. We just had some really good discussions. And so as much as I, think it's maybe not our best. I agree with you. I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish with not really knowing what we were doing. I still think it's a strong, section. And I think it's, still one of our best discussions. Yeah. So that's why I put it as number 2. Plus, I just, I got to give love to the thing that started this out.
Yeah, that's why I felt like I needed to give it an honorable mention.
I feel like we probably have the same number 1.
I was just about to say, I think Hannah and I have the same number 1, and it's not a surprise. Number 1 is Wedding Songs, A Burn for the Worst. This is the first episode I felt good about. Hannah and I sent this to, 6 people, and this is the episode we had people test pilot. So, just a spoiler, we recorded all of Pixar, all of Cora, and then Wedding Songs before we released an episode. And we felt so confident about the Wedding Songs. We recorded that. It was super short. It's one of our shortest episodes.
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes.
It's about 30 minutes long, but we, had such a good time and felt so comfortable doing it. I think 5 people listened to this episode. This is the one we workshopped. We were can you listen to this? Just tell us what you think. And I think that holds a special place in my heart. And I still go back to it sometimes to listen to, because this is, how songs work. This works because we, there's so much good content in it.
Make the booty go.
Make the booty go.
I remember someone that we sent this to, their boyfriend walked into the room and was listening and thought it was a legitimate podcast.
And thought it was a real podcast,
And we were so stoked because we hadn't even released it.
We sent it to a few people we knew and got a lot of really good feedback. And so I think that was the catalyst that made us feel confident to be able to release things. Because Cora, we didn't release until months later, because we just kept pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back because we were having such a hard time editing it. But that one was the one I was most confident on.
Yeah.
Where I was this can work. Where I feel good about what we're releasing. And because of that, it just I feel it's my favorite.
Yeah. I agree. I put Wedding Songs, A Burn for the Worst. It's my favorite introduction.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That story is
your
something.
ass-burning story. I'm so glad you saved that. I know how hard it was for you to not tell me about it.
Because when I was at that wedding, Hannah, I showed my ass to so many people.
Yeah.
8 people.
And then you showed it to me.
And then I showed it to you.
Yeah.
And I had to hold on to that for weeks. Yeah. And I wanted to tell you so bad, and I couldn't. But I'm so glad I saved it.
Yes.
Because it made for such a great reaction, which I knew it would.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of set us up for the episode.
Yeah, this is, like, agreed. This is the episode where everything clicked.
Yeah.
Where I felt like even as we were recording, it felt like it was different. We're like, this is good.
Yeah.
Like, we knew it was good as we were recording it. It's, like, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
We talk about grandma and not wanting to hear the booty go clap.
Or Genuine.
And I just think, like, it's short, but it's, like, it's sweet. It works really well. This is the one that when we first were releasing episodes, we would always recommend to people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I felt like this is the one that if you were going to get hooked, it would be on this episode. Yeah. It's not necessarily one of the best, like, number-wise performing episodes. It wasn't in our top 5. But I think, to me, it was, like, this is the moment, I agree, where we started to get confidence because we released this in, like, we released it to people we knew would give us genuine feedback.
Yes.
People who would be honest with us. That's what we wanted. And we got, like, good feedback. And we're like, okay, this can work. Because Pixar was just very, like, much like Nerves. And we felt like we were rambling. And we felt like we couldn't edit it. I feel like we weren't feeling that confident. But this is, like, I think what was like, okay, yeah, we can do this.
And, so it's my favorite.
Do you want to run through?
Yeah, let's do it. So, number 10, I have Winnie the Pooh and Depression 2, Variety Hour, Back from Hiatus, American Idol, Conspiracy Theory, Jammers Gone Wild, Fast and the Furious Part 1 Family, or just the Fast and Furious in general, all of our 4 guest episodes, Cider, Hard, Piss Watch 2021, which I didn't mention, but was our first censored episode.
Yeah, we put in Piss Watch, and the next day it just said watch.
Yeah.
It said Cider Hard
Watch.
And I said, well, censored. I gotta fix it. So then we started to put asterisks in. Although...
Also, can I just mention, Piss got censored, but turkey fisting is A-okay.
They're cool with fisting.
And piss. Virgins. They're fine with virgins, too.
It's weird what will get censored.
Number 3, American Girl Dolls, Fuck Molly. TV Pilots, ABC Family. And number 1, Wedding Songs, A Burn for the Worst.
God. Number 10, 130. Number 10, Fast and Furious, Winnie the Pooh, CSI Miami, American Girl Dolls, TV Pilots, ABC Family, Jammers Gone Wild, Lady Gaga, guest episodes, Pixar, Part 1 / all of them, and then Wedding Songs, Burn for the Worst. Yeah, I think this was, like, cool to just, like, get a recap of the year.
Yeah.
Year in review, because we've had a lot of episodes. I forgot about a lot of them.
I did, too.
I was like, oh, yeah, we ranked the letters of the alphabet.
Yeah.
Which was our most sexual episode to date.
It was, yes.
We ranked NHL jerseys.
Yeah,
or logos.
That one was hard. So, we wanted to do sports stuff, but, like, after doing that one, we're very hesitant to do more.
It's hard because it's very visual.
It's a very visual thing to look at, like, logos, to look at jerseys, to
I think that's easier in, like, a YouTube format.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it on YouTube, and it works because you can post it up on the screen.
Right.
You know, we've got ideas for this year. If you guys have any ideas you'd like to see, we've gotten a lot of recommendations, and we're planning on doing a lot of those. We always like to get ideas, though.
Like, for instance, our fall foods, the Thanksgiving dinner candy corn was a suggestion by a listener, and we loved that. We didn't love eating it, but we loved the content created by that. But yeah, we are very thankful for everyone who's supported us and who's listened to us and given us feedback. It's been a lot of fun, I think. It's the best way I'd phrase it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Like, we don't get, like, serious, but, like, genuinely, like, we appreciate everyone who listens and, like, takes their time to, like, give us ideas and give us, like, constructive criticism. Like, it is really helpful. But, yeah, I just think it's been a fun year. I think next year's going to be even more fun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like we're in our podcast life, we're like full steam ahead. In our personal lives, we're you know.
In our personal lives, we're like, we literally last year was New Year's Eve. Spoiler alert. This is recorded on, I guess technically it's the 2nd of January because it's 1:30 in the morning, but we were just like, oh, the New Year ball dropped. Yay, New Year.
And then we once again played Mary-Kate and Ashley.
And we played Mary-Kate and Ashley to ring in the New Year. We have nothing, like, our personal lives are shit because COVID is amok and sucks the fun out of everything. But you know what doesn't suck the fun out of everything? A podcast.
And on that note,
You can follow us on social media. We have an Instagram, we have a Twitter, we have an email, r3podcast@gmail.com. We love your comments and critiques, and we are definitely feeling our champagne.
Sparkling wine.
Our Prosecco.
Sparkling wine.
It's Prosecco.
Prosecco.
Our Italian sparkling wine. We're feeling it, and we're having a great time. And I'm looking forward to all the new episodes that are going to be coming out this year.
Next week,
we got a little taste test going on. We're starting the year off on a taste test.
Oh, yes.
We already recorded it.
Yes, it's already been recorded.
Spoiler alert, we already recorded the first episode to come out after this.
We record out of time sometimes.
Sometimes we gotta do what we gotta do.
We were feeling very boxy.
Oh, God. That's not even close. Sure. We're feeling boxy. Again, thank you so much for all your...
Sorry, it's not funny. I was thinking about the box.
Again, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for all your support. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate anyone who's taken the time to, give us comments and, support us, whether it be just support us spiritually, or actually listen to us. I don't, expect everyone I know to listen to this, and I don't want everyone I know to listen to this, frankly. If my mom listened to this, I think I'd be a little concerned.
We would die.
We would be, I think she would be a little upset, maybe. She also thinks this is live. We are trying to get her on here secretly. I think we can make it happen.
It will happen one day.
It'll happen. We'll make it work.
But yes, cheers to 2021. No, not cheers to 2021.
No, fuck 2021.
Podcast 2022.
Podcast 2022. We have several guests we're going to have. We will actually have our brother on the podcast.
Maybe.
My
hand's wet.
What?
His hand's wet.
Why is it wet?
The inside is wet.
Ew.
Oh, because my hair is wet.
Why is your hair wet?
Because I took a shower.
Oh, gross.
Okay. But yes.
Oh, God. Anyway, we'll get him on there. We meant to get him on last year, and then we just kind of forgot about it, to be honest.
He's already been on a podcast.
He already has his own podcast.
But yeah, we have guests. We have fun things.
We have a full year of shit planned.
We're gonna end it.
And we're gonna end it.
Well, we're gonna end this episode, not the podcast. Can you imagine?
Here, you heard it here.
It's ending.
It's ending right now. We're actually not continuing. This is the end.
This was actually our finale.
Bye!
Bye!
But just kidding. Please support us. Tito's, we want that sponsor.
And Delta. Not Delta right now, but Delta in the future with Tito's.
Can we get Tito's on a Delta flight?
And buy drinks.
Oh, buy. Yeah,
we
buy.
Can't find them.
Please buy. Give us your sponsorship because we need those drinks. They make the best mixed drinks in existence. With Tito's, buy. Buy partnership. Bye.
Fuck Molly.
We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research Rank Repeat.